Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. I have a special interest in the conduct of Civil War soldiers when they're at a precarious crossroads. It's that moment when they sense trouble afoot, they feel the coming swirl of chaos and confusion, and smell the gun smoke wafting through the air. That moment when their gut tells them something isn't quite right, something seems off, something that could potentially compromise the lives of comrades in arms. What do they do? Does the soldier shrug his shoulders and march away? Or does he convince himself that his concerns are unfounded? Or maybe, just maybe, that soldier trusts his instincts and acts. And here's a case study, and it involves an officer at Five Forks, Virginia, during the final days of the war in Virginia. He is Horatio Collins King, a quartermaster who heeded that inner call of imminent danger, and he stepped away from his duties to help his comrades on the front lines. Major King did not have to put himself in harm's way. He could have walked away, but those who knew him would have expected nothing less. King was a graduate of Dickinson College. His father and namesake, Horatio King, had served as President James Buchanan's Postmaster General. Young King studied law under future Secretary of War Edwin McMaster Stanton and became an attorney himself in 1861. But then the war came, and like many young men, he set aside his career, in his case, his legal career, his job as an attorney, to fight for the U.S. Army and the Union and the Constitution. In 1862, he became a captain in the quartermaster's department, and like many quartermasters, worked quietly without fanfare behind the scenes off the front lines to supply soldiers to keep everybody marching and moving. They commonly say an army travels on its stomach, and here's King making that happen. He might have done that through the entire war, but then came March 31st, 1865, just days before Appomattox. He was in the vicinity of Five Forks when Major General Philip H. Sheridan's Cavalry Corps scored a major success after his troops enveloped two Confederate infantry divisions and another division of cavalry. King, who was acting as chief quartermaster of Sheridan's 1st Division, observed the rising tide of battle, and he got a bad feeling about it. He sensed danger. He paused, checked his gut, he reflected, and then he acted. He turned over command of the supply train to one of his subordinates. Then he rode off and volunteered his services as an aide to Major General Thomas Devon, one of Fighting Phil Sheridan's top senior officers. Devon, in this moment, was under pressure from the Confederates, and he welcomed the help when King rode up and offered his services. Then Devon went off into battle, right into the chaos and confusion, and King, the quartermaster, accustomed to being behind the scenes, rode off with Devon right into the action. A biographer explained what happened next. Quote, owing to the wooded character of the country, the cavalry fought dismounted. The ground was stubbornly contested until about 4 p.m., when a report was brought from the 7th Pennsylvania Cavalry that the Federal line was driven back. At this time, Major King, the quartermaster, was the only staff officer remaining with General Devon, commanding the division, and King was requested to hunt up the reserve brigade under General Alfred Gibbs and hurry them to the aid of the 2nd Brigade. The reserve was somewhere on the extreme left of the line, so following the direction of the firing with all possible speed for about 3/4 of a mile, Major King found General Gibbs, delivered his orders, and proceeded with him at once to the critical position where the brigade was deployed. They arrived just in time to repel a charge of the Confederate infantry and save the line from serious disaster. Major King accompanying General Gibbs and participating in the charge. I'm going to pause here for a moment with the biographer's words. Now, here's King, first time in battle, end of the war. He rides 3/4 of a mile following the firing line. So he's exposed to danger to find General Gibbs and pass along the message, which he does successfully without being injured. King then charges with Gibbs's troops. King somehow survives all of this. The biographer continues, quote, "The fighting continued until dark when, finding that the troops he had were unequal to the task of dislodging the Confederates from their strong works, General Devon withdrew his forces to the neighborhood of Dinwiddie Courthouse," end quote. King, humble, returned to his duties as quartermaster the next day. Well, that story had been largely forgotten. Imagine Five Forks, Dinwiddie Courthouse coming up on Appomattox, all of the days, those last days of battle. Well, this event was overshadowed and largely forgotten for more than 30 years. In 1897, it was remembered. And in that year, King received the Medal of Honor from a grateful country. By this time, King, 1897, that is, King had become quite the Renaissance man, practiced law, served as a newspaper publisher, dabbled in music, wrote books and articles. In 1883, he received an appointment as Judge Advocate General of New York. King held membership in various veterans organizations, including the Military Order of the Loyal Legion of the United States, Sons of the American Revolution. He also served as secretary of the Society of the Army of the Potomac. He ran for public office twice, went down in defeat both times. In 1895, running as a Democrat, like his father and President Buchanan, he ran for the Secretary of State of New York, came up short. In 1912, he tried again as a progressive for comptroller of the Empire State. Again, didn't make it. He lived, though, until 1918, survived by his second wife. His first had died in 1864, and 5 daughters. So there you have it, the story of Horatio Collins King, the quartermaster who felt that something in his gut, something that said it was wrong, rode off, wound up in the heat of battle, delivering orders, and more than 30 years afterwards, received the Medal of Honor. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.